Thank you very much. Let me welcome you to Meso African Motives. I want us to look at life orientation, grade 9, term 4, as a preparation for the exams that we're going to write on life orientation, grade 9. So the marks for this question paper, total marks is 70 marks, and you are to only take 2 hours to write this question paper. Okay, let us quickly go to the instructions and information. Instructions and information. So here are our instructions. Here are our instructions and information. Read all the instruction carefully before you start to answer the question. That is instruction number 1. Instruction number 2, leave a line open at the end of each question. Instruction number 3, number answers correctly according to the numbering system used in this question paper. Instruction number 4, the question paper consists of 3 sections, which is section A, section B, and section C. And section A carries 25 marks, and it is compulsory. Section B carries 25 marks. It is as well compulsory. Section C, 20 marks, and you are to choose only 2 questions. So that is that. But for section C, we are going to attend to all questions on that section. Instruction number 5, you should answer section C in full sentences and paragraphs. The question in this section will test your ability to apply your knowledge and skills. Instruction number 6, write neatly and clearly and legibly. And the last instructions, which is instruction number 7, you are to use the blue or black pen. So these are our instructions. They are very important. Don't make any mistakes of attempting to questions before you can go through the instructions. Let us move on to our section A. Section A, question 1. And as we remember that our section A is compulsory. 1.1, 4 possible answers are given for each of the following. So meaning we're talking about the multiple choice. So question 1, we are going to do a multiple question 1.1, question 1.1. Questions or statements. Choose the correct answer and write letter A to D of the answer next to D, number 1.1.1 to 1.1.10 in your answer book. Example 1.2, 1.111 D. 1.111, the answer is D. That is an example that is given. So now let us get to our business of the day. So 1.1.1, which one of the following substances is most commonly used amongst teenagers? So we are given 4 options: alcohol, tobacco, mushrooms, crocodile. So the correct answer there is A. A. A is the correct answer. Alcohol is the one that is most commonly used amongst the teenagers. That is that. 1.12, the following is not a place of tertiary education. So we are given 4 options: Fed College, University of Technology, University, but the correct answer is D, high school. High school is not a place of tertiary education. So, but the three options are there. There are a place of tertiary education like that, FET College, University of Technology, University. Those are the place of tertiary education. But high school, it is not. That is why it is a correct answer. Moving on to 1.13 now. Xenophobia can be defined as. Xenophobia can be defined as given four options: dislike of trust or dislike of strangers, fear of losing your job, dislike or fear of people from other countries, fear of crowds. And the correct answer there is C. Xenophobia can be defined as dislike or fear of people from other countries. That is that. So let us move on. Now we are on 1.1.4, the process of resolving disputes between people or groups by referring them to a third party. So that is 1.14. So we're given four options: workplace forum, peace of promotion, arbitration, conciliation. So the correct answer there is C, arbitration. Arbitration is the process of resolving disputes between people or groups by referring them to a third party. So the correct answer is arbitration. So now let us move on to 1.15, which reads as follows. An example of career that does not require mathematics is, that is 1.5. We are given these four options: engineering, pharmacy, journalism, chartered accountant. So the correct answer for 1.15 is C, that is journalism. Journalism does not require mathematics, but engineering, you cannot do engineering without doing maths. If in the pharmacy, you need maths, as well as account, you need to have maths. But if journalism can do it without mathematics, that is why it doesn't require maths. Now let us move on to 1.16. 1.16. So 1.16, the National Women's Day celebrated on every year. That is 1.16. So 27 April, 21 March, 9 August, 16 June. So the correct answer is C. 9 August. It's 9 August. So the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, we're talking about NSFAS. Then we give him four options. It is required for university entry, is awarded on merit to students with outstanding talent and achievement in sport, provides study loans to financially disadvantaged students, offers student loans at a very high interest rate. That is 1.17. And the correct answer there is C. Provide study loans to financially disadvantaged students. So that is correct answer. So now we are on 1.1. Which one of the following is not type of a code? Which one of the following is not type of a 1.18? We are given unrealistic, long-term, short-term, medium-term. Then we can see the correct answer is A. That is unrealistic. Unrealistic is not a type of goal, but long-term and short-term and medium, they are types of a goal. Moving on to 1.9. Which of the words statements about conflict is false? That is 1 point. Which of the following statement about conflict is false? So we're given four options. Giving aid to other person is likely to resolve the conflict. Trying to get your own way will not solve the conflict. Avoid or ignore the conflict will only make it worse. The best is to take side by favoring one party. So the correct answer is D. The best is to take sides by favoring one party. That is a statement which is was about conflict. So the correct answer there, 1.9, is D. Now let's quickly go to 1.10. You can protect yourself from violence by, so with the four given options: run to the nearest safe place, shouting for help, avoiding alcohol and drugs, all the above. The correct answer is D. All the above. Okay, protect yourself from violence. So that is 1.1. So those are 1. Let's move on to 1.2. Let us move on to 1.2. 1.2, we read as follows. Complete the sentences by using words provided in the list below. So here are the words that are provided here. So we have to complete the sentence. So to complete the sentences using these words that are given. So let us not even waste time, then get to the sentences. So we are starting now with these sentences. Emotional abuse is defined as any behavior that threatens and dash a victim. So emotional abuse is defined as any behavior that threatens and dash, that is 1.1, a victim. So there the correct answer is intimidate. It's intimidate. Meaning to say, we are saying emotional abuse is described as any behavior that threatens and intimidates a victim and intimidates a victim. That is that 1.21. So we are saying 1.21 is intimidate. 1.21 is what? Intimidate. That is that. So we do have 1.22. We do have 1.23. We do have 1.24. So now that has been here, so it undermines the victim's dash or controls the victim's freedom. So it means it undermines self-esteem. The correct answer is self-esteem. It undermines the victim's self-esteem or controls the victim's freedom. So the correct answer is self-esteem. Self-esteem. It further says it can include dash, that is 1.23, a person privately or publicly controlling what a victim can do and cannot do. So it can include humiliating. It can include humiliating. It can include humiliating a person privately or publicly, controlling what the victim can do and cannot do. So the correct answer there is humiliating. Humiliating. Then 1.24, dash information from the victim deliberately doing something to make the victim feel embarrassed. So there the correct answer is withholding. Withhold information from the victim deliberately doing something to make the victim feel embarrassed. So the correct answer is for 1.24 is withholding. Is withholding. Dash him or her from other people. So they were talking about isolating him or her from other people. So the correct answer is isolating. 1.25, isolate. late. So these are the answers for 1.2. Answers for 1.2 from 1.21 to 1.25. So hope we are together on that. So let us move on to 1.3 now. Let us move on to 1.3. Let us move on to 1.3. So 1.3, we are going to do a matching question. As it says, choose the description in column B that matches the term in column B. Write only the number 1.31 to 1.35 and the corresponding letter, that is A to E. Example 1.36 F. So that is that. So column A are the terms and column B are the descriptions. So we are going to try to match the terms in column A with the description in column B. So without wasting time, now we're talking about the accountable. So we want to know the descriptions that are going to match this term accountable. So what is this accountable? When we talk of accountable to people, we're talking of being responsible for your actions, able to explain or accept the results. That is that. So let us see what matches this. So you can see then that 1.31 is B, completely responsible. Like I've said, that when you're talking about accountable, you're talking about being responsible for your actions or able to explain or accept the results. Now we come to vocational. When you're talking about vocational, that is related to training or education that prepares a person for specific job or trade. So let us see which description matches this term vocational. And you can see that E is the correct answer relating to skills and knowledge that you need to do a particular job. So B, E, so E is a correct answer. Correct answer is E. Now we're coming to risk factor. When you talk of risk factor, you're talking about something that increases the chance of harm, disease, or negative outcome. So now let us see the description that matches the risk factor. We can see that 1.33 D, the correct answer, increase the chance of developing a problem. So we are saying D is the correct answer. 1.34 entrance requirement. When we talk of entrance requirement, you're talking about what? The qualifications or conditions you must meet to be accepted into school or course or job. So that this 1.3 and the correct answer that you can see is C. Specific subject or marks you will obtain for acceptance to a course. That is that. Now we come to the rule of law. Rule of law. When you talk of rule of law, talking about the principle that everyone, including leaders, must obey and be treated equally under the law. And you can see now the correct answer is A. The same laws apply to people at all time. So this is answers for 1.3 matching questions. So let us move on to 1.4. Let us move on to 1.4. So 1.4, you're going to do what? True or false questions. You're going to do true or false questions. As it says, indicate whether the following statements are true or false. 1.4, effective time management ensures that you do not miss an important detail. So that is true. That is true. Effective management is going to enable you not to miss important dates. We are talking about the time management. Workers have the right to fair labor practices, to perform and join trade unions, and to participate in union activities and strikes. So that is true as well. So they have right for fair labor practice. They also have right to join any union of their choice. Also, they have got the right to strike if ever there is something that they are not happy about. So they have that right to do what? To have a legal strike. 1.43 fitting college are meant for learners who experience learning problems. So this one is what? It's false. This one is it's false. This one is false. 1.1.43 is false because FET colleges are for learners who want practical, career-focused education, not just those with learning problems. So that is that. Religion is not a personal choice. The government dictates it. This is false as well. This is false 1.44. As you know that religion is a personal choice. In most countries, people have freedom to choose or change their religion. So this is false. HIV and AIDS cannot be contracted through having sex only. That is false as well. This is false because HIV can also be spread through the sharing of needles from mother to baby during birth, through infected blood, not just the sex only. So this is all about section A, and the total section A is 25 marks. So that is that. So let's quickly to section B. So we know very well that section B is as well compulsory, and we are going to attend to question 2. Let us not even waste time and attend to it. So we're given a scenario where it says unsafe or unhealthy sex can have unwelcome results. Teenagers run the risk of contracting sexual transmitted infections that negatively affect their health as well as unwanted uh, pregnancy. Unwanted pregnancy. So 2.1, name any 3 unwanted results of unsafe or unhealthy sexual behavior. Name any 3 unwanted results of unsafe or unhealthy sexual behavior. So we can come to our answers. 2.1. Here are our answers for question 2, 2.1. So as you can see, teenage pregnancy can lead to 1, sexual transmitted infections, HIV and AIDS, low self-image, as well as emotional scars. So that those are the answer for question 2.1. So now let us come to question 2. Question 2.2. Give 2 reasons why it is dangerous for young girls to fall pregnant. Before we can go to 2.2, we can just give an explanation of unwanted or unsafe results of teenage pregnancy, of unsafe sex. As you've talked about teenage pregnancy, when you talk of teenage pregnancy, you're talking about what? That is when a girl becomes pregnant before reaching adulthood. That is that. Often leading to health risk and school dropout. But when you're talking about sexual transmitted infections, that's when you're talking about STIs. These diseases pass through sexual contact, such as gonorrhea or syphilis, which can harm reproductive health. But with HIV and AIDS, that is a virus that weakens the immune system and can lead to AIDS if untreated, often spread through unprotected sex. or sharing needless. Low self-esteem, that's related to having a little confidence or poor self-image, often caused by judgment, rejection, or fear. But emotional scars, deep emotional pain from hurtful experiences that can affect person's feeling and behavior for a long time. So that is that, and you are to mention on three. So now let us go to 2.2. So now we can go to 2.2. Give two reasons why it is dangerous for young girls to fall pregnant. So let us come to our answers. Here we are on our answers for 2.2. Dangerous for young girls to fall pregnant. Let's see, it says, as it talks about the body, the bodies of young girls are not yet ready for pregnancy. The bodies of young girls are not yet ready for pregnancy. So we're talking about that the bodies of young girls, their bodies are not fully developed. They are not fully developed to carry what a baby, which can cause health risk. We can cause health risk for both the mother as well as the baby. They experience difficulties during childbirth if their pelvic bones are underdeveloped. So that is difficulties during childbirth. Young girls are more likely to experience complications like long and painful labor. That's it. Possible tearing during childbirth can cause you to lose control of your weight, to go to the toilet. So we're talking about the possible tearing during childbirth because their birth canal is small, not fully developed. Tearing can occur during delivery. The teenage girl is not prepared for the physical or emotional changes that will result due to a pregnancy. Not prepared for physical and emotional changes. So, meaning to say, the teenagers often struggle to handle the body changes and emotional stress that come with pregnancy. Hormones levels will change in a body that has still not found in an adult balance, causing severe emotional effects. So rapid hormonal changes can cause mood swings, depression, as well as anxiety. So that is that. Also, many teenagers just do not get enough nutrients in their bodies because of bad eating habits. So here we're talking about not enough nutrients for teenage girls. So teenage girls need nutrients for their own growth. So this can lead to poor health and malnutrition for both mother and baby. So moving on, girls who choose to have abortions risk permanent damage to their bodies or they feel death. So that is that. So that is that. Some end their schooling career and find themselves poorly educated and jobless, which leads to poor and increased health risk and neglect and abuse. These are the dangers for young girls to fall. Hope we are together on that. Let's come to question 2.3, which is define sexual transmitted infection as STI. That is that. So here are answers. Sexual transmitted infection. It is an infection that can be contracted by having a sexual relationship with someone who is infected. Like it says, a sexual transmitted infection. So that is an infection contracted through sex with someone who is infected. So that is that. Now 2.4. Abstinence is one of the best ways to avoid unwanted results of unhealthy sexual behavior. 2.4. What is abstinence? 2.42. What influences young people of state process? Explain. Hmm? Here we are. Or abstain. So abstinence means making a firm decision not to have sex, not engaging in sexual, engaging in any sexual activity, not even sexual intercourse. So this is whereby you are trying by all means to avoid what you think sex. Don't want to find yourself getting into sexual intercourse. Trying by all means to not get what diseases that comes with what with sex, where we are trying by all means not to get those sexually transmitted infections. So that is that. So the other question was what influences those young people to abstain. So here are the risks. They abstain because of religious or cultural or personal or family values. Also, they don't want to contract this STI. Also, not wanting to deal with unwanted pregnancy. Or sometimes they prioritize academic, sporting, and other interests. So they put as academic, they first say, let us finish our studies. Because if we can find ourselves getting into sexual intercourse, we may find dropping out from school because now you have to look after baby. Sometimes the reason being what's putting, because putting it people to try by all means to stay fit. So it is very important that they are to abstain as well. So that is that. So now let us move on. So now we are to move on to question 3. We are to move on to question 3. So for us to attend question 3, we are to go through the case study. As it says, read the case study and answer the questions that follow. So the case study is about Kanyisile Mugele. Kanyisile Mugele. That is bridging what? The gap. What impressed Kanyisile Mugele the most as a child was hearing that her uncle had signed and built a bridge over a highway. It also set the stage for her ambitions. Today, this at an 18-year-old girl wants to be a civil. I want to design my own bridge. She states vertically. She wants to design her own bridge. So she states emphatically. Bridge, bridges bring the world closer. She grew up in a family that sees education as the recipe for success. With her parents' support and encouragement, she has always been motivated to achieve good results, mathematics and physical science are no challenge for kindness. While she may have a natural ability in this subject, she also work hard at them, taking after me, studying in class to ensure she succeeds. Kindness has applied to study civil engineering at the University of Technology in China, and it's been accepted pending a final results this year. So here are the questions that follow. What motivated kindness to become civil engineer? What motivated kindness to become what? Civil engineer? So here are our answers. Yeah, Anka. She had he designed and built a bridge over the highway. That's what motivated kindness. Who are kindness role models? Give reason why she has chosen them. So the role model of kindness is her uncle, her parents. Family sees education as a result for success. So they view education, parents support, encouragement and motivation. So the parents are Kingsley, supporting his role model. The bridge that was built by his uncle, the one that motivates him to study what is civilization, also the parents where they sees education as a recipe for success. All these are from our case study. Now moving on to 3.3. How does she ensure that she performs well in mathematics and physical sciences? So she works hard because we're told from the case that she takes what afternoon as well as Saturday classes. It's there in the case study. Civil engineering is traditionally male-dominated career. Explain. It is used to be followed and done by males only before. That is why it was dominated by the. That's why it was regarded as a male, or it was dominated by the male. Learnerships and internships give graduates and matriculates an opportunity to join the workforce and develop the skills that can lead to permanent employment. With great career prospects, explain the difference between two, learnership and internship. Learnership and internship. So learnerships give you opportunity to work while you study towards national recognized qualification. That is a learnership. You do it while you are working. But with an internship, it's a program designed to give university and university of technology graduates an opportunity to extend their academic qualification through structured workplace exposure, specialized training, internship, periods of work that are part of your qualification. So this one, it's internship, whereby a university technology graduates are given opportunity to have what work exposure for what they are learning. So that is that. So now let us go to question 4. So let us quickly go to question 4. Here we are on our question 4, where we are to read now the article. Read the article below and answer the question that is high. Hashim Amla is the perfect role model. Cricket South Africa. So in Cricket South Africa, in a media release on Sunday, submitted Hashim Amla, who is the world one, reaches South Africa's highest ever test score and becoming the first to win 3% at his level for the country. The Hashim's contribution to South African cricket has gone far beyond the runs he has put on the scoreboard. He remains wonderful role model to our youth. With the humility and dignity he displays on the field, his total professional and focused approach on the field, and the manner in which he conducts himself both on and off the field. So after reading this article now, attend to these questions. Explain what role model is. So here we are on answers. A role model is someone that others look up to and admire. Is a role model. So role models show their values by what they do and see. So role models are people that inspire us and excellent example to others, and they uphold constitutional values. So they lead by examples. So those are um, people who other people are looking up to and they admire them. That is that. Which qualities make Hashim Amla a good role model? Which qualities make Hashim Amla a good role model? So Hashim is a positive role model. Displays values like humility and dignity. It's also professional and focused both on and off field. We told that on our article. Name any individual who is your role model and explain what you admire about him or her. So that one is what? Learner's response. So there's not going to be no mark for the name only. So you have to give the reason why 2 marks for the name as well as the explanation. That is that. So now we are to go to section C. So with section B, you are to get how many marks? 25 marks. So let's quickly attend to section C. So here we are on our section C. Section C, choice questions. Answer any 2 questions from this section, but as we can attend to them all, so as we are going to be fully prepared. So question 5, consequences and implications of teenage pregnancy. Amanda, a 15-year-old grade 9 learner, is 6 months pregnant, 15-year-old. She's excited because she thinks that if a baby will make people treat them more like a grown up. She also believes that her boyfriend will not leave her now that she is pregnant. Besides, the government grant will give them money, so she will finally have some cash to buy new clothes and go to the office. Now, we were asked to write a paragraph about a half every page in which you explain propaganda. What consequences and implications are for teenage pregnancy? So that is that. So can come to answers for question 5. Consequences of teenage parents. We're talking about consequences of for teenage parents. So very few teenage girls and boys are equipped to be parents. The negative consequences of teenage pregnancy, negative consequences of teenage pregnancy include what? Physical, emotional, social, economic, and educational complications. So we're talking about what? The physical complications, whereby we're talking about young mothers face health restriction, pregnancy, and pain. That is the physical part that we're talking about. Also, emotional, it's another negative consequences, whereby now we are seeing teenagers may feel depressed, stressed, or lose what self-esteem. Social is a negative consequences as well. They might lose friends or face rejection from family and community. Then the economic, it is expensive to raise a child. Parents may struggle financially. And educational is one of the negative consequences. Many drop out of school, affecting their future careers. So that is that. We need to talk about the negative consequences of teenage pregnancies. So teenager might become depressed and develop low self-esteem. So this happens because the responsibility are so overwhelming, and young mothers and fathers often lose their friends, family, and community support, like we have talked about what social. Studies show that teenage fathers are more likely to abuse drugs, alcohol than teenage boys who are not fathers. That's true. Many young mothers and fathers drop out of school. That is consequences of teenage parents. Now they have to drop out of school. So meaning they are no longer going to realize their dreams. This interrupts or could end their education and their ability to find a good job. Teenage mothers often feel resentful that they could not follow their dreams. Girls feel insecure due to having enough financial finances to take care of their babies. Teenage fathers become frustrated with themselves, struggle to find work, and able to support their children financially. It costs a lot of money to look after a baby. That's what we're talking about what economy. Social kind may seem like a lot, but as the child grows, it needs food, clothes, medical expenses, transport, and education. The expenses increase. So it is a heavy burden for teenagers to cope. The women may claim things for the needs, but until the child has grown up, that is that. Also now coming to maintenance. Maintenance can become also heavy burden for men, especially if he later wants to start his own family. Often difficult to collect maintenance and it will involve court action in case whereby now it's really to maintain. Young parents with small children to look after often feel resentment and frustration because they have been prevented from carrying out their plans for their lives or completing their education. So that gives them frustrated. That frustrates them because now they are no longer uh, going to follow or make a follow up on their plans because now they are parents. So being a parent means being responsible for another life or taking care of the baby in a different way. Parents do many things for their children, so they look after their children until they can take care of themselves. So this does not only mean that they provide food, clothes, or shelter for children. It is also means they love them, teach them what is right and wrong, and how to do many different things. Some young fathers may be expected to pay cultural decisions from born to the parents for making their daughter pregnant. So, and these are the consequences, negative consequences of becoming a teenage parent. That is that. So now let us come to question 6. Let us come to question 6. So here, like question 5, we are to go through a study wherever you were going to talk about a mother lost that is dying for AIDS. So it was 1997. Tasnim was selected when her mother called with the news. I know before she said it, doesn't say she would be in the hospital with chronic pneumonia and was eating smoke. Her mother had been afraid to tell Tasnim that she had been. I told him, I don't care, I'm going to you regardless of any hotel. Then the Tasnim's mom died at just 43 years. If the study grieves the loss of him, she needs a patience at a clinic and watches friends make risky decisions. Everything is hard, she says, tears in her eyes, a disconnect and loneliness. I've never experienced a loss like that before in my life. I just felt like present that the best was gone. So now it says, apply your knowledge about the grief to help persons decide with their emotional reaction to the challenge situations known. Explain the meaning of grief and summarize the process involved. That is the question 6. So we are first going to start with what? A grief. To define what grief for us to get our 2 marks. So a grief is a normal emotion and reaction that explains when a close friend or relative dies, that is a grief. Or even when a loved family pet dies. So a grief is a great sadness that is caused by a loss. That is that in short. So let us move on. So here we are. So The creed process follows a general pattern. Although people's personalities and situations determine how they relate to their loss, people first experience sorrow and cannot believe they have lost their loved ones. They may stop eating, difficult sleeping, and it seems as though they cannot feel any emotion. When the loss becomes real, feelings of sadness, despair, and even anger take over. They avoid living for others. It's common to cry a lot and think of the dead person or down. Sometimes people feel guilty about not being nice about this while he or she was alive. So they may focus on the good news only, or if they create themselves the person in them. Some have some have even reported that they saw their loved ones or heard their voices or their footsteps. So these are all reactions to the loss of a loved one and can take out the way for work now. Many people are able to go through the normal process of grief. They may be able to act different and they may have a peace strong or others who are grieving or they will take care of it. Their family or stages of the grief. So stages of grief now. Denial, refusing to believe that what has happened, pretending all is well and the same. Anger, blaming yourself or other for the loss of feeling frustrated, backing, offering something or trying to make a deal with yourself or even go to try and change things back to how they were before. Depression experiences symptoms of depression and self-doubt of past acceptance, accept what has happened, and realize that your life has to go on, and the shock and the pain of a grief is over time in the degree powerful again at significant times of the day. So that is question. So now we have to come to question 7 now. So question 7, that is now where we are on the Hansi Broch, a fallen cricket hero. So the name Hans Gross often gets associated with one of the most dreadful terms in cricket, match fixing. Every time there is a reference to a cross, it brings to mind the episode that shook the entire game. We admitted to accepting bribes from illegal bookmakers to influence the results of cricket matches. Then the coach testified before South African Skill Commission that was investigating corruption. He said that he's a great passion of the game and my teammate was messed by an unfortunate love of me. So now you are to right, so is about the importance of sport ethics. Focus on the following issues. What are the sport ethics? Who should compare the sport ethics and which activities should be applied? What is fair play? Give an example of one fair play in another sport called soccer. If you are understanding of measures, explain the importance of making the code of conduct in sports. So now let us quickly go to answers. Let us quickly go to so here we are on our question 7 answers. So we want to talk about the sporting ethics. Sporting ethics are good conduct that you need to follow whenever you participate in physical activities. So sport activities should be applied to all sporting and physical activities, including competitive sports, recreational activities. Everyone involved in sport, whether you are playing, captain, coaching, managing, viewing sport, should comply with sports ethics. They apply to people of all ages. Now, fair play, it means Players and supporters will always obey the rules and will never cheat. You respect the opposition and accept the outcome of the match, whether you win or lose. That's what they play is all about. Whether you lose, you win, you must accept the outcome of the match. So now coming to a play again. So it is very as much more than playing the rules. It incorporates the concept of friendship, respect of others, and always bringing right spirit. Purple is a way of thinking, not just the way of thinking. It incorporates issues concerning humanity, of cheating and gamesmanship, doping, violence, and sexual harassment of women, young people, and children, exploitation and equal opportunities, commercialization, and corruption. So the practice of basing bets on which team will win the game sometimes leads to a type of cheating called match fixing in English. So match fixing happens when bookmakers and players or the referee set which uh, team will win or lose before the game is played. So these players then play the match in a way that is favorite team to win. So a code of conduct for sport is important because it sets a proper standard for any sport and shows the correct mindset here. Develop character in athletes, for example, determination develops a strong mind and body that develops his lifestyle and develops friendships. So this is the end of this uh, presentation. Make sure that you're going to use this presentation as for you to prepare for the exams that you're going to write for grade 9 live orientation. Thank you very much. And please don't forget to hit the subscription button and even share with those who concern. Thank you very much.